Hey guys, back with another Women's Prize review, this one on The Trick to Time by Kit de Waal, and I was kindly sent a copy of this by the UK branch of Viking, which is part of Penguin Random House. This is the follow-up to her debut, My Name is Leon, which I haven't read, but got a ton of love on BookTube and in the broader book community. So I went into this one with a blank slate and wasn't too excited about the premise, so I was surprised by how much I took to it. Our protagonist is a 60-year-old Irish woman named Mona who has lived in England for a number of years working as a doll maker in a coastal town. Interspersed with accounts of her daily life are memories from the time when her mother was dying when she was a child, and memories from her early marriage to an Irish man named William, who she met at a young age when they were both living as expats in Birmingham. Everything is told in present tense, so her current life and past lives feel equally immediate, but we know from the present storyline that her husband is no longer in the picture, and the book gradually reveals why. Despite the fact that the novel poses this big question early on and delays the answer, it's not plot focused. It's very much a quiet book driven by the emotional force of the writing. What I loved so much was de Waal's precision. There's a blissful lack of stray words in this novel. And like I said, the main character, Mona, is a doll maker and her work is quite meticulous. And then there are two main male characters, one of whom is a fastidious dresser, and the other who's a carpenter and methodical in his work. So it's like the prose mirrors these professions and personalities. It's like a fine china or a filigree pendant. Classy writing is what I'm saying. Clean and classy. It's hard to isolate a short passage as an example because one of de Waal's strengths is her extended descriptions of mundane situations. But here's a passage from the present portion when Mona's walking on the beach in the rain. There's no announcement of what she's doing, you're just immediately thrown into her perspective. So she notices that the rain is turning the stones copper and bronze, violet and silver. And then the paragraph continues. Mona never covers her hair. Cold. She pulls her scarf around her neck, too tight and has to ease it off a little. Wet, sea-sodden air and giant curls of water pushing in, over and over, black and white slaps of sea as loud as a train, as 1,000 trains. She loves the sting of wet sand on her skin and the sharp lick of salt on her tongue. Now, I would categorize this in a lot of respects as a sentimental book, which usually isn't my thing, and so I was trying to figure out what worked about this one. A lot of sentimental books fall into what I think of as the rearview mirror phenomenon. So it's like the author's driving and the reader's in the back seat. But some authors are glued to the rearview mirror and you can feel them checking up on you to monitor your reactions. And it's like, don't look at me, eyes on the road. Like, if you want me to go somewhere, take me there. Just tell the story. And if you do it well, I will feel the feelings. And The Trick to Time is an example of a book where the author's not looking in the rearview mirror. There's such a fluttering touch to the emotions in here. De Waal doesn't linger on anything or try to milk important moments. She grazes against a feeling and then moves on. And so it's a reminder that a book can be propelled by wistfulness and nostalgia and longing without being cloying or openly manipulative. There's a scene late in the book between Mona and one of the gentlemen in her life. This man makes her dinner at a time when she would rather be alone. And I reread this scene several times because it's so crisp and exquisitely painful. Like, in a generally sad book, it was maybe the saddest scene to me because there are these waves of unspoken hurt and awkwardness coming off both characters, and you sense the implications behind every move and every line of dialogue without the text spelling anything out. You know, when people extol the virtues of show, don't tell, it's not just a random hoop for writers to jump through. It's because of what you can achieve in scenes like this. Another thing that makes this book effective is that it's a story about loss and grief. But although 60-year-old Mona has experienced a lot of that, she's not a miserable, piteous figure. So for example, when her best friend has to cancel plans for Mona's birthday, Mona says to another friend, hey, I don't have plans for my birthday now. Like, could we get dinner that night? And the other friend is like, yeah, of course. Whereas in a lazier version of this novel, there would have been a scene of Mona sitting alone tragically on her birthday, you know what I mean? And it irks me when the loss of romantic love is portrayed as the loss of all love and all connection. So ultimately, this book doesn't do that because Mona still has other important people in her life, people who care about her and who she cares about. So we feel her loneliness all the more powerfully because it has a specific shape to it. What she misses is her father and the life she imagined she'd have with her husband. Now this book deals with a specific type of tragedy. I liked having the details unfold for me, so I'll leave that for you too. But some people are perturbed by the representation of this kind of tragedy. And I understand that to a certain extent, but I thought it was a valuable meditation on the theme of parallel lives. So there's this idea that accepting your reality is the cleanest way to get through life, that it's no good wishing for the things that didn't happen because you can't change the past and you should only focus on the things that you can change. But this book makes an interesting argument that sometimes in order to truly accept your present reality, you need to allow yourself to experience the dream of what could have been, that you can embrace both the real and the unreal versions of your life, and that they're enriched by coexisting. I also appreciated Mona's character for the fact that from the time she's a young woman, her main interest is in the domestic details of life. And that might sound strange, but especially in this time period, it wasn't like every woman secretly railed against her lot as a homemaker. You know, plenty did, and there are lots of books about the type of woman who craved the freedom to be different. But of course, the counter narrative isn't the only narrative, and there were a lot of women who truly valued the domestic roles they inhabited. So I liked having that quietly acknowledged in this kind of protagonist. That being said, like with pretty much any book, this one has its minor shortcomings, and one of those is that the side characters are much more vivid than Mona herself. She has quite a pastel presence. Personally, I also think there could have been a few more reflections on her childhood from the time her mother died to the time she left home. That felt like a gap worth exploring. And then the biggest issue is that I'm basically pretending the ending didn't happen. There's a plot decision near the end that I really didn't like. I thought it was cheap and it made the book feel artful in a lifeless way instead of like this living, breathing creature. So as far as I'm concerned, it didn't happen. I have mentally deleted a whole scene. But overall, as you could tell, I'm a big fan of this book. I think it's lovely and delicate and a good one to pick up if you're in the mood for a simple story with complicated emotions behind it. So let me know what you think about The Trick to Time if you've read it or are planning on reading it. And I'll see you soon for another Women's Prize review. Bye guys. Thanks for watching.